Attention developers, the technical difficulty has been fixed. Thank you for standing by. What's up, developers? It's Real Tough Candy live stream! Whoop, whoop! Thanks for staying tuned. There is a critical error in OBS, and I had to restart the computer. How's everybody? Welcome to another RTC live stream. Tonight is a great one. I've been having so much fun on these live streams with you all, and I hope you have been having some fun with them too. The chat has been lit up these past couple nights. Some great new people coming to the channel, discovering the channel, and also some old schoolers. I saw Michael Kornblum already logged on, Sarah O. Both these two folks are excellent moderators over on the Real Tough Candy Discord. We also have Paradoodly-Doo holding it down in tonight's chat. Tonight's topic, 7 things you must include in your portfolio. This is a channel for, it started out for web developers, right? But now we have some IoT people, machine learning people, and even some Android and iOS developers I've seen on the channel. So this video is for all of the above. If it involves bleeps and bloops, and you're new to those bleeps and bloops, this video is going to have you covered. I'm going to take a little sippy sip because also, right now in CandyScript, which is my Teespring store, this design, I did it all for the JavaScript, is available in caffeine holders. We have t-shirts, we have hoodies, we have different designs, we have thick stickers. You know you love your Heather Gray. We have all sorts of merchandise there pinned in the comments. Also, you can't miss it. I have it painted all over the place. Lots of merch for your developer enjoyment. Tonight we're going to take a look at 2 real-world developer portfolios. I've critiqued these portfolios. One of them I haven't. One of them was for consultation, and he said, feel free to put my portfolio on the channel. I said, that's awesome. So we're going to go over his portfolio. He has since revamped it since our consultation, and according to him, he's been getting a lot more callbacks. He has an interview coming up this Friday. I'm going to show you what is so great about his portfolio. We also have Oleg's portfolio here that has some stuff I want to show you as part of these 7 elements. I'm also going to be showcasing my first web developer portfolio, which has some imperfections. It's not perfect, but there are things that I did that were very powerful that my potential employers were impressed with. So, before we get it started, we're going to do a roll call, see who all is here tonight. First of all, I want to give a shout out to Matthew in Nodak. He is the Real Tough Candy patron page's latest supporter. Thank you so much for your patronage. You have some goodies coming your way. He's got a boatload of stuff, a boatload of bonuses and benefits coming his way now that he is a true blue supporter, financial supporter of the channel. We thank him for his support, his financial support. People like him, my patrons, my YouTube channel members, both those groups of people make these videos possible, make the upgrades possible, make my time to spend with you possible. So thank you so much, all of you supporters. Also, I got to give a shout out to Dr. Candace. Not only did she recently earn her PhD, she also passed the Facebook phone screen. This girl is going to the moon. She is blasting off. I am so excited for her. I cannot wait, and I want the full report, Candace. Once you get that free lunch on Facebook, I want some pics. Pics or it didn't happen. So her next step, I think, is a video remote interview. Definitely keep me updated on that, Candace. That is super exciting to hear, because I know you've been studying. You've been studying a long time for these types of interviews, because the FANG companies don't mess around. Like, their interviews are tough. You got to study specifically for FANG-style interviews. And when I say FANG, that's a newfangled word. It's an acronym: Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Google. Throw in Microsoft, throw in PayPal, throw in some other big tech companies. But when we say FANG, we mean Silicon Valley, top tier, A grade, bring your A game tech companies. So shout out to Matthew and Candace. Let's do a roll call, and then we're going to get into tonight's topic. How's everybody doing? Alex, it's good to see you. Seen you a lot over the past couple days. Jeff's here again. Welcome, Jeff. Austin studies. He made it. Thank you, Austin, for tuning in. Psychotic TV. I'll buy some merch when I get my stimulus. Hey, that's fine by me. I appreciate that. Jessica B. Love your braids. These are actually earrings. I'm an earring person. I am totally obsessed with funky earrings. It's like the one wardrobe element where I can just go all out and still be taken somewhat seriously. Although wearing these to an interview, I'd probably not be taken seriously. But Psychotic, how's it going? Kitan, Siobhan, April Fool? Not quite, not quite. There was actually a technical difficulty, believe it or not. Sarah O popping in. Michael, hello. Andrew. Karen H, dinner time with RTC. Karen's here again. She was here for the party yesterday, so welcome. Okay. With that out of the scene here, let's talk about these 7 components. Now, before I even get into this, let me just open this up and have this prepped. Let's talk about the purpose of a portfolio and how it's different from coding and development. When we build our portfolio, we are using our technical skills. We are also having to focus on marketing. And this is the real bummer of it all, because you're just selling yourself. What you're doing is selling yourself through a portfolio, showcasing your best talents, showcasing your best English skills, showcasing your best design skills. Even if you're a back-end developer, you still have to showcase that you know how to pick a theme from a store that looks nice and loads quickly. It's essentially a marketing document, and it's showing employers your potential and what you're capable of building, what you could be capable of building. And the more you show how what you've been building aligns with that employer, what I'm saying is, you want that potential employer to think, I want them to build stuff for me. And I'm seeing potential in these projects. I'm seeing potential in the way they communicate. I'm seeing potential in all of this. You want to get that callback. You want to get that interview. You want to get that job offer. So when you're building these portfolios, you always have to keep the user in mind. Your user is the absolute most important thing of this entire experience. They are prioritized. They come number one. So you really have to think about your messaging. You have to think about your marketing and the way you're selling yourself. That's a difficult task. It's not easy. Some people work months on their portfolio and still have a long ways to go just because there is so much going on. And when we talk about these 7 things tonight, these are the must-haves. There are also many optional things. We might do a follow-up video exploring more of these optionals and just to really level yourself up. But these are the basic biggies. The first one, it comes as no surprise. What do you put in a portfolio? Projects. Now, I know it might sound obvious, but I have come across some portfolios where it's just a link to the code and there hasn't really been any idea generation. Or the projects, how do you say it? They're just like basic skeletons of what they could and should be. Your projects should be fully fledged, fully thought out, fully developed. Now, we're not going to go over layout ideas or anything like that, but you got to think about the actual project. You need to have projects, but also projects that have some protein to them. Do you see what I'm getting at? Like, if this portfolio just had Colt Steel projects, it's going to be a pretty weak portfolio. Once you start building these projects, don't be afraid to put them in, but just realize that you're going to be building better and better projects. Realize you can go back to your older projects and improve upon them. You always want to be thinking about these projects because this is the meat, this is the protein, this is the cliff energy bar of your application materials. This is what people are looking at, and it's such a visual thing, and we're visual people. Humans are very visually oriented. All eyes are going on these projects. And if you're just putting in little like hello world stuff to do apps, unfortunately, I have seen some of that stuff. And I'm glad people are sharing that because it lets me give them some ideas for improvement. But it's also not wise to put those projects front and center, because those are problems. Again, going back to that problem solving thing that we've been talking about for years on this channel, problem solving is the name of our game. And if you're not problem solving, you're not really developing, you're not really involved in the software development process. And something like tic-tac-toe, hello world, those are problems that have been solved millions of times. So I don't want to focus too much on this portfolio because it is mine and I just don't want to be like too self-centered about this. We have 2 other portfolios here, but we'll go to this one and then I'll show you the others. So some of my projects for my this was my first one and it's now archived. I have not updated it since I got my first job in enterprise. My projects included the following: the Dev Spotlight, Get Her Done, barncatdigital.com, bethysbackyard.com. This was an e-commerce site using PHP, realtoughcandy.com, YouTube. Notice, here's something too. Notice that when I did put in YouTube, this is not necessarily a software development project. In fact, it's not at all. I didn't develop YouTube. I didn't invent YouTube. I didn't work for YouTube. But it emphasizes one of my big skills, and that's communication. Communication is like, here's like your coding skills, the importance, here's the communication. Like in a lot of scenarios, a lot of contexts, communication trumps those tech skills. I've met quite a few very talented software developers who are like genius level, but their communication was not very good. And it's a shame because they have problems. They have trouble working with teams. They have problems working one-on-one with people, and they have problems getting ahead. And they'll never be in supervisory roles because as a supervisor, and this is a thing too, think about your future. Think about your future when you're leveling up. You have to be a good communicator. You have to be a good communicator. You have to be a good communicator because the higher you get, the more people are looking up to you and the more succinct you have to be with your communication. It's a vital skill. And I knew that before I even started learning software development. Communication is absolutely imperative. So that's what I put in there too. And I thought, the YouTube channel at the time, I had like 2,000 subscribers, which is a lot, but it's nothing massive. Like, oh, hold the phone, RTC has a few dozen people watching your videos. Like, not many people are going to be impressed by that. However, I wasn't showcasing my metrics. I was showcasing my videos where I was communicating a message. So think about auxiliary projects that relate to software too, that can be just as powerful, if not more so, than your actual coding projects. The code is super important. Like, that's what we do all day, right? But there are other auxiliary skills that are super important. So, project-centric. Try just always be ABC, always be coding. ABT, always be thinking about how you can refactor some of these projects and make them your own, or add a feature. Maybe just change the CSS a little. These are the things this is the reason why recruiters, employers, and senior developers are logging on to your portfolio. So you have to come correct with the projects. You got to come correct with the projects. Do not put Yelp Camp front and center on a portfolio, because you run the risk of someone identifying that as a cookie cutter project, and you're really not challenging yourself as much as you could be if you took it into your own hands, added some features, added a feature, change the topic. Instead of a campground search, why don't you do, I don't know, a drum throne search or something totally esoteric that you care about. And that way too, you're going to be talking about it more enthusiastically at the interview, rather than, yeah, I got that from an Andre Negoy project. It was pretty fun. I used Postgres, I used React, I thought about using Mongo, but he told me to use Post. Like, when you take things into your own hands with projects, you get to level up more and more with that. And it's just such a big benefit. And it's you're kind of taking a risk because you're being vulnerable, not knowing where this might end up. But I think that vulnerability is important. to take a little bit of a risk, to just push these projects a little and see what happens. Now let's go to these other projects here. Joshua Cruz, this was the person I had a consultation with last week. And if anyone is curious about that, I know I'm probably going to get some questions about consultations. I do them. I don't advertise them. They do cost money. So if you're interested in getting a consultation, we talk about how you can improve your chances of getting callbacks, interviews, and job offers. I also go over your application materials with you to really supercharge them, just giving them that edge. And Joshua has made some improvements on this portfolio. He's already a very strong candidate without my help. But going back here, this portfolio is not only beautiful, it's aesthetically pleasing, it's also very powerful. Look at these projects: Random Weather, NASA Image Library, Open Ticket, Aperture, and Developer Portfolio. And in fact, he even admitted in an interview that the Aperture project was based on Yelp Camp. When I looked at it, I had no idea. So that's another, just add it to the list of reasons why you should be taking these things into your own hands. A lot of people aren't even going to know that you got inspiration or ripped off a project from Udemy or whatever. But this is a great layout. Look at this. So we view project, and he has screenshots of the project. He has the narrative. He has a live version in GitHub. We're going to talk about more of these components because they're part of this list that I have, the seven features, 7 things you must have in your portfolio. But look at that. These are actual screenshots from his project. He took a screenshot of the code and also the final project if I just am not ready to commit to the live version. Because think about your user again. If they just clicked right here to view project, they just don't have as much information as they do compared to this little image gallery. So it kind of primes them for what they're about to see. And that's important with any user experience. You never, ever, and I see this a lot with portfolios, you don't want to link to some place or say click here if the user is not explicitly understanding what they're about to click on. And in this case, it is a step, it's a granule, it's a lead up to the big reveal. You know what I'm getting at? The big reveal, I mean the live version. This is the big reveal. Okay, let's see this baby in the wild. This is on Heroku. Just a heads up with Heroku apps, it takes them forever to spin up and add them and get going. I'm not going to say don't use Heroku, but this is something that I just get frustrated with. First world problem for sure, but it takes forever for Heroku apps to fire up. So we have the Random Weather app there, and it is fully functional, as you can see. And if I wanted to know more about it, I would just go back here and read the narrative. So we're going to get more into that, but I just wanted to show you the projects here, and also on Oleg's. Oleg has some dope projects. Harmonica Assistant in Elm. This is a type of project I have never seen before. The reason, and I'm naturally interested, as someone who hires people, I like to see things that are unique. I like to see things that people take into their own hands. And as he says right here in the narrative, this is an app I made to scratch my own itch and the most personal and meaningful project I've done so far. It helps harmonica players pick any tune they like by ear using a virtual piano, but then get harmonica tabs to play with confidence. That is a dope freaking project. It solves a problem, it's real world, and it's something he loves, and it's something he can get excited about talking about in an interview. So he even has developers. This is why I took on Oleg, because this portfolio originally, it did need some work, but he also had some dope freaking additions. He has a demo video that he made, and I've seen this in a few portfolios, and it's immediate fire. It's total fire because no one else is doing it hardly. Demo video of how this works. He also has the code, and he also has the live version. This is awesome. L-Master's Harmonica Assistant. It solves a problem I have. The problem is harmonica is a terrible instrument for picking tunes by ear. He just states the problem right there and his inspiration for making this. This is the type of stuff people want to see. Employers want to see this stuff, especially when most especially when it matches their stack. Now, if you're interviewing with a company who has never heard of Elm, has no idea what functional programming is, or has no interest in functional programming, this is going to be a tougher sell. And that is exactly why you need to keep your audience in mind. Again, the user experience when you're pushing these projects and prioritizing these projects. You should always put your best projects first, but you have to remember who's going to be reading it. If your best project is based on PHP and you're applying to JavaScript jobs, maybe not the best project after all. So consider that. Always consider your reader and who is going to be the person behind the screen that you can't see. Mwah! It's a good time for a siren, no? RTC's live, mother truckers! Too fun. Yeah, I'm too out of control with this. Let's go to the chat. So I think that's pretty much good. Pretty much good with what I wanted to say about projects. Let's do a roll call. Check in with the live. Michael Kornblum. Michael Kornblum says, this may sound terrible, but someone once told me that a portfolio is only as strong as its weakest project. That is a great point, Michael, and that maybe is something I will add real quick. This is another example of something that I didn't do all that great in this portfolio. I stuck one of my weaker projects to the bottom just in case someone was interested with it or interested in it. It was of my own idea. It's a touchscreen testing tool written in jQuery I called Fatfinger, and it's just kind of half-baked. I never really got to build out the features. It's kind of cool, but if I had to do this all over, I would completely eliminate it because that is the weakest link. You want your weakest project to also be pretty strong, as Michael implied in his comment there. That's a great comment, Michael. Samuel Morales Jr. Woo-woo! Nice seeing you, Samuel. How you been? It's been a while. How you doing in New York? Are you in the Bronx? I forget what part of New York you're in. I hope you're doing okay. This is the guy. Samuel's the guy who works at Google, and he wanted me to review App Academy Open. And it took me a year to review it because I wasn't looking forward to it, but it was actually a really good platform. Good to see you. Jessica B. Tamla Brooks. Hey, Tamla, how's it going? Marco. Good stuff, everyone. Good stuff. Okay, so Paradoodly-doo, thanks for dropping Oleg's original portfolio. That video, right. Mecca Cornbloom, got to get back to the salt mines. Have a great night. You too, Michael. Stay safe. Michael works at Walmart. And you can imagine how crazy it's been for him. But he's been holding it down. He's been keeping people well supplied, trying to keep them sane and entertained in these crazy freaking times. Tonight has been not chaos, but it's like a nice, it's almost like a really nice June night. Lots of people barbecuing, lots of people cruising and driving with the top down music up, people at the park. It feels like summer and people are acting like it, and it's nice, but it's also, you can kind of feel the cabin fever even with people outside. I was at the park tonight trying to like keep my social distance, and it's just like, I don't know, Stay Puft Marshmallow Man, perhaps? It was crazy. Like, there's people everywhere, and I'm trying to keep my distance. Ugh. I hope it's over soon. It's just too much. All right, let's go to these comments, and we're going to go to the number 2. Who does number 2 work for? Number 2. Skills. The second thing you must include in your portfolio, one way or another, your skills. What do you do? If you're a web developer, I hope you said HTML. I hope you said CSS. I hope you said JavaScript. Now, some people, now I've seen various implementations of this, right? Let's go to Oleg's here. He has a little tab that says languages. I thought this was programming languages. He actually speaks multiple languages. This was another cool feature, just to get off topic for a sec. He has this portfolio in Russian too. Man, it's just, he went above and beyond for this portfolio. So skills. He has his skills section right here. It's a no-brainer. I mean, you just boom, boom, boom. HTML5, CSS3, CSS frameworks and solutions, JavaScript, TypeScript. Developers, TypeScript is awesome. We had a little bit of a conversation the other night. TypeScript is great. React, Redux, Elm. For his functional programming, Git, NPM, Linux, Vim, NeoVim, VS Code, and Node.js. Wow. This is another thing I was really impressed with Oleg's portfolio, is that you could drop down. He's giving me the option to explore more. So let's say I am an employer, which I am, and I don't know what one of these is. I'm like, he knows Elm? What's that? It's like, oh, he learned it to become more familiar with functional programming. He did a practice project in Elm, that harmonica maker or harmonica project we just looked at. I've learned React afterwards. So the knowledge of Elm is not fresh in my mind, but I could review and brush up my skills quickly if needed. He gives a super short narrative and some context, some backstory, and that's another component we're going to be talking about later on as one of the must-haves, is context. Pay attention to the context that he has here. CSS3, solid proficiency. I understand the block model, selectors, their weights. I'm familiar with and have used pseudo elements. I remember a decent number of attributes by heart. I've worked with Flexbox. I've even had some experience with CSS animations. SCSS is the preprocessor I have used. I like this a lot. Some people, if you really want to just get boom, 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 they have those logos in a skills section. And those work great. They're really colorful. One thing that's missing with those, though, is that you aren't getting context. So it's like, sometimes people may be wondering more. And this is something you can talk about, of course, in the interview or a follow-up, a phone screen, whatever. But one thing that you miss out on when just using the logos, like, for example, there's like a logo for React, there's a logo for Linux, the penguin and all this stuff. Just using the logos, you're not showing how much or what types of things you know when it comes to that language or technology or framework. Now, I have seen sometimes people list their skills and then have like a 0 to 100 meter or a 0 to 10 meter, and they'll put 8 and they'll put 9. We've talked about this in a different portfolio. We were doing reviewing Sui's portfolio, and she didn't have that in her portfolio, but we talked about it. Basically, just how it is mostly a bad idea. I think it has got to go. Whenever I see that self-assessment, I just don't think it's true. It's very hard to measure your assessment, or measure your assessment. It's very hard to measure your skills and be objective when you're assessing yourself. It's hard to be objective when you're assessing yourself. And really, JavaScript, when I see people put JavaScript 8 out of 10, I'm just like, I just don't believe that. JavaScript is a really hard language, and as a newbie, if you're 8 out of 10 as a newbie in JavaScript, I'm hiring you like without even looking at your stuff, because the gurus are almost 9s. I don't really think there is a 10 out of a 10 person. Maybe Kyle Simpson. Is that the guy? I always get his name wrong. You don't know JavaScript? He really knows JavaScript. Anthony Alicea, probably a 9 out of a 10. It sounds like I'm like on hotornot.com. No, I mean their knowledge of JavaScript. We're getting off topic here. What I'm saying is listing your skills is going to give a snapshot to your potential employer of what you're all about. And if they see a stack that's not aligned with theirs, they have the choice then to proceed. Maybe they think you are a good candidate or good potential candidate. Maybe they're going to say, you know what? This person's stack is just not aligned with my business objectives. And it saves you time. So you want to be explicit with that. Let's see. Now, that is something I did not do in this portfolio. And I wish I would have. I really wish I would have. I kind of alluded to it in these projects. Dev Spotlight, HTML, CSS, JavaScript with terminal, navbar. These are just things, but these are technologies I used rather than technologies I'm familiar with. This is like one of my very first projects. Let's see if it works. I think I jammed it. Whoops. Or is it just like totally blotto right now? Yeah. Okie dokie. Is it really broken? Bummer. This thing was so cool when it was working. Whatever. I didn't list my skills on here, and I wish I would have. I wish I would have had maybe taken, you can't see where I'm pointing, but just follow the cursor. Maybe like beneath here had a little block of just an inline block of the technologies that I'm familiar with. Or do like Oleg did and have a drop down like this to give some context. But skills. Employers want to see what you're working with. They don't want to dig through projects. It's just a really good snapshot to have right on your portfolio. It could be a section. How you want to implement it is up to you. I don't like giving specific advice on implementation just because people need to be creative and think critically about how they want these things to be laid out, especially if you're a front-end developer. You're going to be using something like Flexbox or Bootstrap or the Grid or something. Skill number 3. Working demo. Let's go to the comments actually, and then we'll go to the skill number 3. Mila's here. Hey Mila, how's it going? Nice of you to show up these last couple nights. Who else? Michelle Melton. Hey Michelle. Oh, Josh is here. Okay, nice of you to tune in. It's SG'd. Josh is this guy right here. He's in the chat right now. I DM'd you, Josh, about that one thing that I thought you could improve. I mean, it's such a small thing. This is what's great about Josh's portfolio is that it's already at, like, it's really good. And when you get to the point where you're nitpicking, that's a good sign. So if someone's ever giving you a critique and it's like really small stuff, that's a good sign because that means the big glaring things are not an issue anymore. And he said this portfolio could be sacrificed for the sake of the live stream. So we're going to go into it. The NASA image library, this was one of them too. This was the small critique I had when I looked over it the other night. The arrow buttons. So it's an auto scroll gallery, right? All these different projects have various screenshots. View project. You can't really see the arrows. So that was the only thing. The skills section 2, yeah, I mean, definitely. I don't think it can hurt at this point. You're already rocking it so good at this point. Look at this contact form. That's another one we're going to talk about, developers. What? I am so excited about this thing. Yes, you knew I was going to turn this thing on and talk through it. The RTC horn. Doo-doo, doo-doo. Yeah! Okay. Skill number 3. Hello from Los Angeles. What's up, Carlos? Himanshu Bacha, rate my portfolio. That would be so funny. Nicola, hello from Serbia. Zdravo, Nicola. Kako ste? Skill number 3. Must have number 3. Sorry, skill number 3. Must have number 3 for your portfolio. Working demo. A lot of developer portfolios that I see do not have demos, and I really wish they would. I really wish they would. It is so critical, and that is why it's in this list. The in the flesh, online, deployed project. Now, this is important for a few reasons. Number 1, it shows your employer you know how to deploy projects. When you deploy, you're kind of doing some DevOps stuff. You're working with servers. Even if it's just deploying it on Heroku, you are working with servers. And, you know, employers are greedy. Even if you're a front-end developer, they want someone with back-end DevOps experience too. It can't hurt you. It can only help you when you deploy your stuff. Number 2, it's going to give you a feel for the entire build process and the entire development process. So it's going to help you. Number 3, people have peepers and they want to peep the projects. If you just have a GitHub link and some screenshots, you're doing yourself a disservice. People want to see the in-the-flesh version. There is a difference between Jimi Hendrix, the hologram, and Jimi Hendrix, the actual guitar god. Like, big difference. Now, unfortunately, Jimi Hendrix is long gone. RIP. But that's the difference we're talking about here. Don't just settle for a hologram. Bring it to life with a working demo. Now, it doesn't have to be crawled by Google. You don't have to have an SEO score on it. You don't have to be ranking for keywords. Just something that people can play with and see that it is a functional project. Essentially, you're building just prototypes. You don't have to test for every little thing. You don't have to do all these unit tests with these projects. Just make sure the most important stuff is working and get to, maybe get to the smaller stuff as needed, as you have the time. Here's another example of Heroku taking forever to load. It's not these developers' fault. I wish there was a better way. So this is Oleg's project, Clothing Shop in React. This site was built while learning React. It's an e-commerce website where visitors would be able to buy clothes. There is authentication, backend database, cart dropdown, Stripe integration, and test mode. Now imagine if this was all the further Oleg had gotten with his projects. It'd be a total snooze fest, developers. I would be unimpressed. We have stock photos here, which are not necessarily bad. They're just not adding much. And if all he had was a link to the GitHub and some photos, I wouldn't be compelled. And again, going back to that user, you want to compel that user because the user is the employer. The user is the recruiter. The user is the senior developer who's going to be grilling you at the interview. You want to impress these people. How do you do that? Put in a working demo. Now, I'm not going to go through this entire demo because there's a lot of stuff going on here. But as you can see, I'm testing this right now, and this is a good thing because I want to see his understanding of building projects. Now, maybe there's a good chance he found this project on GitHub and claimed it as his own. He probably didn't because I know Oleg and he didn't do that. But let's just say I didn't know Oleg, he was a random dude. And, there is always that chance a developer has ripped this off of GitHub, but it's going to come out during the interview. You'll find out real quick who's been copy-pasting, who's been putting the work in once you get to that interview and interviewers start asking you about the projects. So just a word of warning. It's tempting to build things that other people have built, but you're just going to be wasting your time because eventually it's going to catch up with you. But right now, this is good. I'm not seeing this adding to cart, so that is a little... Is it? Like, why is this not going to my cart? Maybe I have to sign... Oh, I do have a cart. I have a handbag. Yes, please. 2 Adidas Yeezys coming right up. 1 Nike Air Force and 1 floral blouse. That's actually not a bad wardrobe. I need another... Can I get a pair of pants here? Gray jean jacket. You know I love the 80s. I gotta have my 80s. Okay. So this is something that I would possibly talk about at an interview with Oleg if I was interviewing him for a job, for a software developer job, for a web developer job. I'd ask him about this project and I'd let him know my feedback. Like, using this, it was a nice, clean experience, but I didn't see this number. It was really small. Anyways, and this is the other thing. When you have working demos, this is a great opportunity to have a conversation with your potential employer. Nothing worse than getting the introductions out of the way and then talking about the weather or something. That's awkward. You want to go into that interview with knowledge of your projects, with some... People say have passion, but I disagree. You have to have some interest. With some interest in these projects, with some understanding of your build process, and you will never have anything to run out to talk. Developers, I sometimes think on this channel I'm going to run out of topics. It's not possible. I could have a topic every night for the next 500 years and still not run out of topics, still not repeat them as they relate to software development because there just is so much going on. So even if you just have a little bit to talk about with your projects, you're already leveling up in that regard, because sometimes people go to interviews and it's just like a deer in the headlights. It sucks. It sucks. It's not like employers are excited for those candidates. It's not like, you know, the Schadenfreude just laughing at their misfortune. It sucks. So building these projects and deploying these projects, having working demos is going to help you as a software developer. It's going to help you understand your process. That's why we get paid. The problem-solving process, the build process. So, working demos, they're a good thing. Even in this one, this portfolio, Real Tough Candy, my first portfolio that I did. Now, some of these sites are defunct. In fact, most of them are defunct, so I can't really show you any projects. But all of these have working demos attached, or they did at one time. That is just something Josh does, something Oleg does. Fortunately, I'm seeing more and more working demos on portfolios that I see. So, any questions and comments on that? Let's go to the chat. Charlie, Wayne, how's it going? Yo, love these hour-long live streams. Keep it up. Thanks, Charlie. I appreciate that. Golden Eagle. Sorry, I hate to break it to you. This project is made in a Udemy course, Complete React Developer Zero to Mastery, which this person shouldn't claim as his project. Which one is that, Golden Eagle? Was that the e-commerce site? If so, fooled me. But I would agree with you. It's not a good idea. Even though Oleg's portfolio is awesome, it's not a good idea to use Udemy projects photo for photo, component for component, for many reasons that we've talked about. So yeah, and that's a risk. If it's this one you're talking about, that is just proving the risk of putting those types of projects in a portfolio, because I didn't know, but someone else might, and it's not good risking that. Vlaslo, hey Vlaslo, what's up? Sandeep says, I've just created my first portfolio. Good for you. "52 people in the chat. If you are enjoying tonight's live stream, please smash that like button. Just go boop, 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 boop. Tell YouTube that these streams are worth it. Skill, component number 4. What do we have for time? 8:19. Component number 4. GitHub link. Going back to these guys' portfolios, these guys, I see this more and more. This is the other thing that I'm seeing more and more of, which is really great. GitHub. Show people that you know how to work with the code. Show people that you know how to work with Git and GitHub, because Git is a really big skill too. So these are Josh's and Oleg's sites, or GitHub sites, GitHub pages. Here's Josh's random weather. He has an instruction. Now this is neat. I like this. This is also an opportunity. When you have the GitHub link, this is also an opportunity to flex those README skills. No one reads READMEs. Yes, they do. Yes, we do. We read the READMEs. That's why it says README, because we read them. Look at this documentation. This is another skill that really isn't talked about all that much, but documentation is so critical. It's so important. It ensures that your teammates and your future teammates, people you're never going to meet down the line, it ensures maintainable software. If we can't get software that's sustainable, the next best thing we can make it is maintainable. And writing documentation in this way is great practice, just training you to build more maintainable software. So in this little README, within 5 seconds, I'm already seeing things that I like as a potential employer. He has instructions that he wrote, 1 through 9, step 1 through 9. Number 1, clone it. Number 2, if you don't have NPM, go ahead and get yourself hooked up with NPM. Number 3, get on that terminal. Number 4, run NPM, and so on and so forth. He has a features page, and he also has known issues. This is what I liked about Josh's application materials and talking with him, is that he's very transparent. highly talented, highly motivated, but also transparent in things that aren't quite 100%. It is so tempting to go into an interview or a phone screen and act like we have it all under control because, we're new. We don't want these people knowing we're new and that we don't know some of this stuff. And it is a risk when you say, I don't know, or yeah, this thing isn't quite up to snuff. Like, yeah, the take out a cart button isn't quite working and the login isn't working on Firefox. Like, no one wants to admit that. But if you put it in a way that is professional, clean, and organized, you can get away with it. Take, for example, Josh's random weather app. He put known issues in the README. Number 1, the map does not automatically resize when the window is changed. Refresh the page to resize the map. Number 2, the map zoom is slow to respond when using an iPad. This right here is already, seriously, I want to call this guy in for an interview because there's just these little things. He knows that one of the issues is the map zoom is slow to respond when using an iPad. You know what that tells me? He tests his software. So let's get this settled. Research and Google, or both, global usage statistics for browsers. You will find consistently that Safari is about 16% of global browser usage. Why? Because of iPads and iPhones. Desktop Safari is under 5%. iPad and iPhone are a big share of those browsers with Safari. Using Safari. And so many times I've tested portfolios that do not work on Safari. That's not a good look. That's not a good look. So you want to be testing these things on various browsers. Right here on this machine, I have Firefox, Google Chrome, Safari, Tor browser. I also I have an emulator for Opera Mini on this machine. Opera Mini is like 0.1 or 0.9% or so. It's under 1% of global usage, and honestly, like, I don't even know like why I should be catering to Opera Mini, but people still use it, and it's important to test for all these different browsers. There is no one browser to rule them all. Chrome is like a big chunk. Majority of people do use Chrome. I know a lot of people who use various browsers. I use Firefox for different things. I use Chrome. I like Chrome's DevTools better than Firefox, even Firefox developer browser. At first I thought it was cool, but then I didn't care for it. And I use Safari to test things and other things. I also have Tor. I test on Tor just for fun. I don't knock points when someone's application isn't responsive on Tor browser. So yeah, the GitHub link is powerful for so many reasons. If you haven't started, go get yourself a GitHub account. Go get yourself a GitHub account. Sign up for GitHub. There's a GUI, a graphical user interface you can use to start working with Git. You can also use the command line, which I have multiple. Just for kicks. Shout out to Donovan. He started using the terminal that I have on my computer, the cool retro term. It is so rad. And he was like, this is awesome! I'm like, I know, right? It's so over the top, but it's so fun. This cool retro term is just so legit. But really impractical if you're trying to get work done. I just like stare into the scan lines as they roll down the screen. So any comments? Let's check the comments here about the GitHub link if we have any questions or concerns with that. Hi from Argentina, Facundo, how's it going? Nice of you to tune in. Binoculars says, I'm a Brave border guy myself. Yeah, a few people have suggested I use Brave or check it out. Vlaslo, 17% Safari in February. I believe. People like to toss it off as some like BS browser, but you can't ignore those numbers. Also, Paradoodly-Doo makes a great point. All the stuff I'm talking about tonight is available in my best-selling course, How to Get a Job in Web Development. I talk about things a lot of things people aren't talking about, like the PAR method, which is a better way to explain your projects. I go into detail with that. I have templates for your resume and cover letter. I go into setting up a GitHub account, how to pin your best projects and getting that set up, deploying your projects on GitHub for a GitHub link. All that and more is in that course, How to Get a Job in Web Development. Paradoodly-doo, hit him with the link. How to Get a Job in Web Development coming your way in the live chat right now. It has helped hundreds of people get the job of their dreams, land the job of their dreams. So honored to be a part of so many people's coding journeys, and that is a big way I have contributed to people's success with jobs. Check it out on Udemy, as well as on Amazon. Paradoodly-doo, there better not be any slacking with that link. I need you, Paradoodly, to drop that link. Show them what we're working with that link. Okay, that was number 4. That was must-have number 4, a GitHub link. Let's go to number 5, context. You must have context in your software developer portfolio. You must have context. Context gives meaning to what you're showing. Now, portfolios are not Instagram accounts. You can't just throw on some photos and expect people to respond. You have to give some context with almost everything you do here. So, for example, we're going to go back to Oleg's portfolio. Junior front-end web developer. Whoa! He set the tone real quick. That's context. My name is Oleg. It's a pleasure to meet you. That's context. Defining the purpose of the resume. That's context. Going to his skills. This was a really neat one, giving context, because he's explaining his understanding of all of these without going overboard. They're 2-3 sentences at most, not paragraph upon paragraph. Remember, and this is something I want to emphasize too, people are looking at multiple portfolios a day. Don't expect them to read half of it. So the quicker and the more succinctly you can get your message across, the better. Even though I'm not, looking at 50 portfolios a day, I'm not going to read all of this stuff. It's great. I'm not saying don't include it, but just know that a lot of this information isn't going to be picked up by by your potential employer. So the quicker you can get to your point, the better. And I think Oleg does a great job of this. Even though I'm not going to read it all, I get a pretty good feel for what he's getting at. And if I wanted to go back later, let's say we had an interview. Let's say I called Oleg in for an interview. And we're talking about some stuff. He's talking about his project. He's talking about his languages. He's talking about these things that he does and his skills. I might go back later with my notes I have from the interview. There's a good chance I would. There's a good chance I'd go back later if I was impressed with his poise and his presentation at the interview. If he was delivering on what he was promising in his portfolio at that interview, there is a very good chance I will come back to this page. I will come back to the portfolio and look at more of these skills. So the context is important, but it's important to also keep it as brief as possible. Get your messaging as tightly compacted as you can for maximum impact, because we just don't have that luxury of reading paragraph upon paragraph. So keep it short and to the point, keep it powerful, keep it accurate. Context on everything. He even had a history section, which I thought we went over this. Paradoodly, pop that Oleg portfolio in the chat again in a few minutes. Now don't overwhelm the chat here. You're killing it. You're doing a great job modding. But if you guys want to see this review in full of what I thought needed improvement and what I liked about it also, check out that video. But the thing you don't want to do is not talk about your projects. The thing you don't want to do is remain mysterious. The thing you don't want to do is be a rando. Because it's so easy. By default, When your application materials land on that person's desk or in that inbox, you're just a pile, you're just a number in the heap. You're just another applicant in the heap. So the minute somebody is opening up your portfolio, you've got to come with the boom. You've got to come with the boom, whether it's an aesthetic boom, whether it's something else, but something to compel that reader to keep scrolling. And look at Josh's About Me. He took 3 sentences to give himself some context, and I think it's just fine. This is just fine. I build full stack web applications using effective, minimalist designs. Boom. That's a power sentence. Take a look at my projects to learn more. Feel free to contact me at any time. And also, too, I'm not just talking about biographies or about me's for context. I'm talking about, or skills. The projects themselves need some context. This is where I do see a lot of code newbies and new developers maybe miss the mark a lot of times, is that they'll just name the project. If I don't know what I'm looking at, I'm not going to be as impressed compared to someone who took the time to explain what I'm looking at and what I'm about to do, why this project was built. What is your motivation behind this project? What is the result of this project? What is the objective? Again, the PAR method, it's really powerful. You don't have to use the PAR method, but I find it to be easy and effective. And it's something I talk about in the course. We go over it quite a bit. What else? Context. All of these projects have context. Look at this. 2 small, simple paragraphs. Open Ticket is an easy-to-use issue tracker made with MongoDB, Express, React, and Node.js. Create a new ticket or track your progress on an existing ticket using journal entries. The idea for this application came from my experience using issue tracking applications in the IT field. Look at this. That's some great context. That's some freaking great context. The goal of the project was to create an online version of the issue trackers that many IT specialists use every day. That's a great write-up. Especially, notice too, he came with the kung fu, just boom! The idea of this application came from my experience using issue tracking applications. I didn't see this the first 5 times I read it. Tracking applications in the IT field. So that tells me he takes his IT job serious. He has an adjacent, he's in a career that is software adjacent, which I already knew going over his other materials as a potential employer and as a consultant when I met with them. But it is a good reminder. So context on projects, on who you are. We're going to talk about more about the bio in just a second, because that is one of the must-haves. IMHO. So, any questions or comments on that? Let's close some of these up. Let's go over here. By the way, quick interruption. If you have gone to an interview and were asked a JavaScript question, can you please contribute it to this repo, Real World JavaScript Interview Questions? I'm trying to get the biggest and best and most accurate list of questions that were asked in job interviews related to JavaScript. So I have a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I have 12 of them right now, but I want to get like 100 or 200 and really show people what is being asked in these interviews. We also have some context here, where it was submitted, who did the submitting, and some additional information on some of the questions. So please consider adding your question if you were asked one at an interview. I also have some other group projects here if anyone's interested or has experience with Python interview questions, common problems junior developers should know. This is what I love about my dang channel. I have code newbies, people who haven't started coding yet. I have intermediate people. I have people seeking their first job, advanced newbies. I have senior developers. I have people in management. I have people who own companies. I have an amazing audience. People really come from so many different backgrounds and experiences. I'm just really lucky. Some of these channels only attract a certain segment of people, and that's fine. That's great. You know, if it was 100% code newbies, I could totally work with that too. But the current status of this channel is really diverse in terms of where people are in their career. and where people are with software. I have people on the channel who are retired from software development. People have been doing it for 15, 20 years. And it's just great to see. So if you're one of those old schoolers who is a senior, or maybe it's not that old school, but shout out to my people. Shout out to everyone of every ability. It's a really great mix, and I love interacting with everyone of all abilities. So where were we getting the questions? Vlaslo, what did you... Donovan's here. Hello, Donovan. Donovan, I was waiting for this moment. That one's for you, Donovan. Peace out. All right, let's go to the comments here. KD Williams, once again, much thanks for the dope show. Thanks for tuning in, KD. I love these longer form videos. I think the topics are worth the extra time we spend on them. You know what I mean? If it was just like a tweedly-do topic that's 10 minutes, trying to stretch it into an hour and a half, I think it'd be very painful. But these are things that we can talk about in depth that deserve to be talked about in depth. These are the type of topics that sometimes people make videos on. Even on my channel, I'll make a video for 7 and 8 minutes, but it's just scratching the surface. So I'm glad we can have these hour-plus videos, hour and a half, what have you, where we can go deeper into the topic. And we're also exploring some real-world portfolios here and hopefully giving people a leg up that way. Okay, so Donovan is here. Awesome. Just going over the comments here, and we'll get to must-have number 6. Cadu, hi from Brazil. How's it going? Edward Gonzalez, hello from CA. Is that California or Canada? Which CA, Edward? Let me know. Just looking at some comments, and then we will go back to the show. Firefox DevTools are great for CSS Grid. That's a good point. And CSS Grid is awesome. It's awesome. I know I mentioned this the other day, but I do contract work and I do training for other companies. And I was on this training. I did a training for CSS and Flexbox. And it was the first time I was actually able to really get into the grid and, you know, studying and playing with it before I did the training and like skilling myself up to actually talk about it. I was like, whoa, the grid is awesome. I wish I had more free time to like work on all these projects I have in my brain. Maybe one day when the internet is, I don't know, apocalypse. The apocalypse is nigh and the internet is gone, and all we have of our little electronic boxes to code CSS. One can dream. Must have item number 6. Must have item. Now this one, the last couple items I was telling you developers, I'm feeling very enthused. I'm feeling very great because people are doing more GitHub demos or GitHub links. People are doing more working demos. I'm seeing a lot more people adding their skill section in one way or another. This is one where I am not seeing it, and I wish I would, because it is, of all of these, the one that gets me the most. I mean, it really kills me. Contact form. Now, fortunately, Joshua Cruz has one. Fortunately, Oleg has one. However, there have been many times when I've gone over portfolios and all it is an email address that I have to copy and paste into Gmail. Now, I have an email client on my machine. I don't like using it when I'm contacting people. I use it for other things. I use it for a certain segment of my business. When I am contacting random people I don't know, I use Gmail. And when you just have the hyperlinked email, it tries to open an email client, and I don't want that. And so what I have to do is copy your information. Let's go to Josh's here. Now he has a contact form. Let's say he didn't have a contact form. What I would have to do is copy this, first I'm highlighting, I'm copying, I'm going to Gmail, I'm pasting, and then I'm sending. That's a big process. I don't want to do that. I want to contact you right here, right now. Put in a contact form. It is so important. Again, we got to focus on the user. Don't make them click. Don't make them think. Don't make them do things they don't have to do. Now, this is one thing where in my portfolio, I was not doing. And that's not good. Now here is my backstory with this portfolio. This is built in Jekyll. It's a static site generator and it uses Ruby. I don't know Ruby. I've never used Jekyll aside from this. And I was also my first year coding. I had a very, 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 very vague idea of what was happening. And I dare not even try to add a contact form in here because I was already breaking things and it was already very precipitous. So in my contact, it's killing me. I don't change it though because I use it for training. So by email, by submission form. So I'm getting there. Via realtoughcandy.com. But this is just taking somebody away. This is really inconvenient. And this is something, I'm not trying to shame anyone because I did the same thing. And looking back, I can see just how inconvenient this is. I knew at the time I was building this, it was going to be a mild inconvenience, or I assumed it was going to be a mild inconvenience for people, but it's actually a very major inconvenience. If you are using something like Gmail or you don't want to use your mail client on your computer. So don't be like Candy. Be like Josh. Be like, hey. Cool. Okay, 50 people. Welcome, newcomers. Welcome, new arrivals. Welcome to the stream. If you're just tuning in, we're going over 7 things new software developers must have in their portfolio. Tonight, we have taken on a few real-world examples. My first portfolio, which I've since archived for training purposes, we have a live one here with joshuacruz.us. This is a guy currently working in a network operations center, and he is going for the gold with software development, with full stack development. This guy is going to get a job soon. Unfortunately, with the current status, it may not be as quick as everyone would like, but there is a company who's going to snatch this guy up. I am 100% certain of that. Oleg, this is his resume, or this is his portfolio that I reviewed earlier on the channel. He has since been offered a dev job. He took some of my advice from one of my portfolio reviews, from the portfolio review I did for Oleg. He took the advice of RTC. He almost lost his hard drive forever, or he almost lost the information on his hard drive forever, and he got a job. And this is Oleg at his new job. Developers, come on. This one's for my homie Oleg. I'm so happy for this dude. I'm so happy for this guy. So we talked about the 6 must-haves, right? We're going to talk about the 7th one. Just to recap, the 6 skills going into the 7th: projects, skills, working demo, GitHub link, context, contact form, and number 7, bio. A little bit of biographical information will take your portfolio from rando to awesome-o. Why? Because this is about the person. This is about the projects, but what is behind the projects? The person. Behind the projects are the code. Is the code. Behind the code is the person. And if you don't put a little bit, just a little teeny bit about yourself in these portfolios, you're just going to be another random rando. You're going to be another number in the stack. You're going to be applicant 876-5309. 867-5309. That is your number. That is your number in the stack. Just another application, just another portfolio. You have to have something about you, just a little teeny tiny bit. It doesn't have to be insane. It shouldn't be insane. It should be just a little bit. A small paragraph is just fine. Oleg, junior front-end web developer. Now, not only is this kind of a bio, this is a bio right here, right? Junior front-end web developer. We're easing into the bio with this sentence. It's also adding context. He has a whole thing. Now, this is where one of my critiques came in because he writes a lot. He writes a lot about his thoughts, which is good, and it shows his communication, but also most people just aren't going to have that time to go over it. And I love what he did here, his personal philosophies. If you only have half a second, he believes in stoicism. It's like, I love how he circled that. Where was I getting at with this? But the bio. Let's go to Josh's. A little something. Now, Josh has a photo. That is part of his bio. Now, it's not a text-based bio, but it is showing who he is. The purpose of the bio in this context is to put a name and or face to these projects. Because let's talk about photos for a second. And this is something we do talk a lot about on the channel. And I know people who have been tuning into the channel are probably sick of me saying the same things, but it's worth repeating. Photos are an entirely personal preference. It's a fact that you are going to be judged when you put your photo on the internet, point blank. If you put a video of yourself on the internet, oh my God, watch out. Photos are an entirely personal preference. I like them because it allows me to attach that face to the portfolio. It allows me to attach that face to the name. Now, there are other things he's doing here. Look, this is what I mean by a succinct bio. And it may be even this may be pushing the definition of biography, right? About me. I build full stack web applications using effective minimalist designs. That's all you need. One sentence. That's all you really need. That's all I need to know. You want to be telling your reader what they need to know about you. Whether that means just a one-sentence thing, whether that means going into bullet points, where you graduated from. You know, if you graduated from college, you probably want to put that on there. You might want to put that on there. I mean, the implementation, again, it's totally up to you. But you need we could call it a bio, you could call it about me, you could call it whatever you want. But the purpose of that section is to show your potential employer that you exist. And to show them that you are human rather than some hands behind a computer making projects. I've seen great portfolios. I have no idea who makes them. And I'll never know. I'll never know because I don't have the time to go and pick through it. When I did that 32 portfolio review video, the people I remember were people who had bios. And honestly, the people I really remember were the people who had photos. But again, I am not trying to push the idea of photos. It is totally up to you. For some people it helps. Other people are going to find it doesn't help. And one thing you can do, here's a pro tip. A/B it. If you find you're not getting the results that you want without a photo, do a week where you're applying with a photo and note your results. Physically write down your results, because A/B testing is a powerful tool, and I think more people should be doing it when it comes to these features and not knowing which way to go. Not afraid of that vulnerability, which is completely understandable. But if you're wondering if it's helping or hurting, start A/B testing that and see where your results lead you. So, to summarize, these 7 things you must have in a web developer portfolio. Number 1, you got to have some projects. No projects, no portfolio. You got to have skills. Whether you list them, whether you sprinkle them in, whether you put bullet points or logos, whether you do an introductory video of yourself talking about your skills and pop them up on the screen as you talk about them. We got to know what stack you're working with. It could even just be MERN stack. and in parentheses. I mean, it doesn't have to be, you could do any implementation you want. You could get really creative with it. Number three, a working demo. Now, Oleg has a demo video, but he also has these working demos of his projects. So does Josh. So did I at one time. This isn't something that I would recommend checking out, though, because half of these don't work. These demos bring your projects to life. Have a demo. Have a link to the demo. Number 4, have a GitHub link. Git and GitHub are great skills to have. If you're there, I mean, I think GitHub is really overhyped. The bigger skill here is Git and version control, because you may be using some different. GitHub is just one of many places you're going to be storing your code. You could use GitLab, you could use an internal system. GitHub is really just like the Facebook for web developers, in my opinion, in software development. You know, and there's not really. If you're using GitHub, it's not like it has a big learning curve. Git is the one that's going to have a learning curve that's going to be more challenging. So focus on Git. The GitHub link, you could link it to GitLab. You could just link to the code. GitHub works well, though, because it's a place, I mean, everyone's heard of it. It's standardized, and you can pin repos on your page. What I don't like about GitHub is this stupid A contributions box that everyone uses to judge you. It's the dumbest metric to judge someone in the history of mankind. Like, there are literally repos you can use to color all these boxes, and I could have 10,000 contributions by tomorrow by backdating this contributions box. It is so dumb. It is so dumb. I have seen so many gatekeepers. Well, it's not so many. I don't want to make it sound like I've seen millions, but I have seen more than one gatekeeper who's like, well, you're not very active on GitHub. What kind of developer are you? It's like, mother trucker, I actually work. I'm not pushing my projects to GitHub. I have work to do. I'm not putting client projects on this frickin' site. Even private repos, I don't even fuss with it. I use other methods. I use more secure methods. So just kind of a tangent. But man, when people get me going on this contributions box, I just can't. Number 5 must have context. Context on your projects. Context on your languages. Anytime you're talking about something, just give it a little sentence. Give it a little spice with some context. The most important area to have context is in your projects, because no one wants to look at something they don't understand. We need to be demoed through this. We need to be shown bullet point by bullet point what the heck we're looking at, and that is where context comes in. Number 6, a contact form. We need to be able to contact you swiftly and efficiently. And number 7, an about me, little bio, putting that name, putting that face, putting that person to your projects. Questions, concerns, or reminiscences in the chat. Look at all of these. Donovan, you got that reference, the Tommy Two-Tone reference? I was wondering if anyone would pick that up. Cool. Typo on the live stream. Really? Oh. It's like, wait, what did I spell wrong? Yeah, I mean, I didn't even notice it the first 7 times I freaking looked at it, so thankfully it's not a very good deal. It's not a very big deal at all. Ian Bayless is here. What's up, main course encouragement? How's it going? Sarah checking in. Jay Cruz. Thanks everybody for tuning in tonight. If you enjoyed this live stream, please hit a button. All the stuff I talk about is available in my best-selling course, the #1 book, How to Get a Job in Web Development. Hit them with the link, girl. Don't be bashful. Paradoodly-doo is, I don't want to say my protege. That sounds a little bit gatekeeperish, but I have been working with Paradoodly-doo over the weekend and going into this week because she's a code newbie and she's completely new to coding. And she started learning HTML this weekend. She was trying to aim for HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, but she's taking it nice and methodically. She's taking the methodical route there and sticking with HTML. Paradoodly, give us a status update with your learning journey. I think I'm going to have Paradoodly do a guest blog post on realtoughcandy.com, like code newbie, my first 14 days or something like that, like kind of like a diary entry of her experiences, because I think those early days are so important, and they really solidify. Yeah, I don't even know what I was going to say. They're just important. They're just so important, and we reminisce upon them as the years go by. Well, when I was first starting out, like, you never forget those early days, because normally you're just trying to like rip your face off because you're so frustrated. Let's see what Paradoodly Do has to say. Paradoodly, dropping the paragraph tags in the chat. I think I might be leveling up. Good for you, Paradoodly. That's exciting. Ian, how is it going? Good. I'm glad you could tune in and just check in. That's good, Paradoodly. So when do you think CSS is on the docket? Are you going to be focusing on HTML all this week? Or what is your status with that? Are you an HTML girl for the rest of the week? Paradoodly is just, it's radio silence. She doesn't know what to say. She wants the world, but she knows this HTML thing, it's going to take maybe a few more days. That's good though. All right, developers, let's go into the comments here. And then, oh, Paradoodly Do. I just learned how to make square bullet points. That's great. Lists, unordered lists, that's excellent. One day at a time. This is the really important stuff. So, you know, there's no time. There's no time. Some people say, oh, if you don't learn it in a week, you suck. I've heard people say this. There's no exact limit when you're self-taught. There's no timeline. There's no strict timeline. If you were still learning paragraph tags after the first year, yes, I'd have some concerns, but you've been doing it for a few days. I'm really, really excited for checking in with you and your coding journey. K2020, this is great content. Thank you, Kay. You know, I really enjoy the longer form content, and we're going to keep doing it. I'm going to keep doing it as long as I keep feeling motivated to do it. My goal is to do one a night until we hashtag flatten the curve in the States. I might be doing it for another few weeks. I might be doing it for another few months. No one really knows. So I'm trying to do one every night. If I'm not feeling it on a certain night, though, I'm just not gonna. You know, it's not worth burning out. But people have been enjoying it. We're talking about some really important topics. And new people are joining. So we got some old-time subscribers and patrons and YouTube channel members. It's such a great mix. This channel is such a great mix that I've seen a lot of interest in these live streams over the past couple of days. These live streams are really upping the channel as far as people discovering the channel. So that is wonderful. It means I can spend more time working on video topics, spend more time with you, helping you out in your coding journey, and being more of use to you out there who need a little helping hand. So, shout out to Donovan. He is a YouTube channel member. He has a wonderful piece of candy right next to his name. That is not random. That is because he is a true supporter. I've interviewed this guy like 7 times for my blog. He's great. He's so great. He has the best answers. He does a lot of volunteering in his city. He works as a developer. He's worked at IT support, I think. He's worked help desk. He's done a lot of stuff. He's a lifelong techie. And I'm really honored to have him on the channel, checking in like he does and supporting the channel like he does. Developers, thanks for watching. As always, I hope you're having a wonderful night, wonderful day. Don't go too crazy out there. Stay safe, wash your hands, and we'll see you in the next video.